Check it out, it's the Volkswagen ID.4. Now I know what you're thinking, Gav, shouldn't you have reviewed this like 3 years ago? And no, well yes, but no, because now all the bugs are ironed out, Volkswagen has a real Tesla competitor on their hands. Speaking of which, let's talk price and range. You can buy one of these right now if you bring in any old electrical appliance like that, not that, for $66,000 if you get the rebate, but you better act fast. For that you get 519 Ks out of a charge. It sounds pretty good, so I have to ask, what's the catch? Well, let's find out by taking it for a drive. Now, I'm no Volkswagenologist, but yes, there were some issues with the Volkswagen ID.4 when it first came out, but I have been informed that all of those issues have now been fixed. So, we finally have a Volkswagen Tesla competitor on our hands. Better late than never. On that note, let's talk technology, and Volkswagen have here what they call Twist and Go, which was incidentally my nickname at the school locker room. But anyway, how it works is that you can twist it and it will change your drive select to neutral, reverse drive, or B to maximize regen braking. But it doesn't have full one pedal driving. It's close, but it doesn't quite bring you, as you can see, to a stop. The car is also controlled by this 10-inch central display, which is touchscreen and actually really easy to use. What are you doing? The brakes work well as well. Anyway, as for the display, it has Android and Apple connectivity, but it is wired, not wireless. Although the car does come with a wireless phone charger built into the center console here. It's not a brilliant location, but at least it's got it. And speaking of extra gadgets, it has a heated steering wheel, and it has many voice commands, including Hello ID, turn on seated heats.
Okay.
Check that out! Driver's seat heating has turned on. Of course, the car also has a 360-degree bird's eye camera system, but it is fixed. So you are just looking at the pre-selected options you've got there. You can't spin it around like you can on the Mercedes or the BYD or many other cars. Speaking of seats, it has, this model, the Pro model, has beautiful, soft, almost velvety seats with vinyl on the sides. I do love fabric seats, especially in this case microfleece fiber. It just feels great. And speaking of seat height, because this car is kind of high set, it makes it really easy to get in and out of, especially if you're old enough to, well, remember when Volkswagen started, when we're not going there. But despite being German, it's actually kind of playful. You've got 30 different colors you can change on the interior cabin lighting, and when you ask the car a question, there's a light bar under the windscreen that illuminates. Hello ID. Check that out. But coming back to comfort, these seats are sublimely comfortable, as is the ride quality. Going over that speed bump there, just so much more comfortable than, say, a Tesla Model Y. And this has armrests. Yes, there's no high raised center console, but don't worry because you've got adjustable armrests here. I love cars with armrests because, I mean, let's face it, who wants to ride around in an uncomfortable car? It's actually massive. It is massive. And speaking of space, let's talk boot space. And at 543 litres, look how big it is. There is more than enough room for a pasty, self-loathing potato enthusiast. Plus, if you put the back seats down, suddenly you've got more than 1,500 litres of space. And of course, the distance to the back seats is so large that you could easily lie down in the car. Honestly, this is the ultimate camping trip car. It's the ultimate family car. In space, this is a real winner. However, there is no fartment. If you pop the bonnet, you will find no front compartment. But that's okay because it makes up for it in space in the back. If you sit in the back, look how much legroom and headroom there is. There's no sloping roofline on this car either, which means that yes, you have all of that headroom. I'm 5'10", I can easily fit in the back there. So if you've got giant toddlers, you'll be safe. Of course, it's also got ISOFIX points in the back. And now that we're getting on the motorway, how does this family vehicle handle motorway speeds? Well, so far it's actually pretty good. It has 150 kilowatts of power with 310 Newton meters of torque. So while it's no rocket ship, it doesn't have the world's fastest 0 to 100 time. It's still a very sprightly family vehicle. Part of the reason for its big mass is its big battery. It has a 77 kilowatt hour battery, actually around 82 kilowatt hours, but 77 are usable, which means it gets that impressive range figure. Or does it? We're going to find out because I'm going to take this on a bit of a drive. The adaptive cruise is working fine, but the lane keeping assist is a little bit nomadic. But anyway, let's now concentrate on the ride quality, and as I settle into this micro fleece seat with my armrest, and the noise deadening in this car is brilliant. I mean, here I am doing 80 k's an hour on Auckland's motorway, and I can talk to you in a whisper. It's so quiet in here. Absolutely lovely. There's no vibration, no jiggle. It's a little waftier than, say, a Tesla Model Y, because that's why the suspension is softer, you know, it's built more for comfort. I could see myself doing long distance trips in this. Let's talk efficiency now, and while the official figure is on the screen, in reality I'm getting around 14 kilowatt hours per 100k, which is actually really good. We'll come back and check that out right now. As for charging speed, however, well, this car can handle a 7 kilowatt charger AC, or an 11 kilowatt charger AC if you've got 3-phase power in your house, which most Kiwis don't. As for DC charging speed, however, well, it caps out at 135 kilowatts peak, which is not epic for a car of this caliber. This standard Volkswagen I thought would have much faster DC charging speed. It means that you're still looking at about 30-35 minutes to get from 20% to 80% on a road trip. And while we're talking electricity, let's talk about the electricity that's going to be feeding this car on the road trip. It is from none other than Ecotricity. Ecotricity makes these videos possible. It's New Zealand's only certified climate positive electricity provider. It's certified by Toitu, so you know it's real. It means that basically they're helping to turn back the clock on climate change, and you can be part of it by joining at ecotricity.co.nz. The electricity is super affordable because it's only from wind, hydro and solar, so don't worry about waiting for governments to act. Just act now with your wallet. Join the good fight, ecotricity.co.nz. I got familiar with the ID.4 over the next couple of days before taking it on a road trip to see what it's like in real Kiwi conditions. So let's crack into a road trip, drop it and drive, and off we go. And today's mission is to go from here in Ecotricity all the way to New Plymouth. Now that is a distance of 164 kilometers, and it says we've got 283 k's of range because we've got just over half a charge, 56%, so imagine half a tank of gas. So let's see how well we go in terms of efficiency. Now the official efficiency number for this car is 16.9 kilowatt hours or units of electricity per 100k, and that's pretty average, that's pretty normal. And how it gets that is doing simple things like putting in insulated glass on the back rear window and the back rear side windows. Also, something you might not know about this car is that it's got drum brakes on the rear. And you might be thinking, well, that seems really outdated, but no. Volkswagen have done the math and they've found that drum brakes are slightly more efficient. They grab less when freewheeling, and that's pretty cool. I wouldn't have thought that, but there you go. And another thing, talking about freewheeling, if I get up to, say, 100 and then slip it into neutral, it coasts on and on and on and on. Look how slowly it's decelerating. Okay, now we're going up a hill, but that is remarkable. That being said, one thing Volkswagen haven't put in this car is a heat pump, so it's not the most efficient way to warm the air in winter. A heat pump would be better. You'll know this if you have one in your house. But as I settle in for a nice long journey, let me tell you about a list of things that I love and hate about this car after having it for a few days. Let's start with the things I really don't like. Number one being that the lane keeping software, the guidance, is a little bit overzealous. It'll constantly be guiding you back into the middle of the lane if you go just even a little bit off center. It's really annoying. The next thing on my list of complaints is the menu is not really very logical at times. Like to change the interior color lights, which is really cool. It lets you have multicolored lights and dual color lights as well. You'd think it would be under the interior lighting. No, it's hidden in a sub-menu 2 menus out. It's not quite that user intuitive. Not only that, if you want to adjust something, because there's no tactile buttons, and this is a problem for cars like Tesla and BYD, is that if you want to adjust the temperature, you have to align your finger. It means taking your eyes off the road. Sometimes your finger will miss, and it's like trying to hit a bullseye with a big fleshy sausage. My next complaint is that this interior is prone to fingerprints and scratches on all the black shiny surfaces. Like this car has only done like 500 kilometers. It's brand new, and already it's got little scratches in the shiny bits. That's really frustrating. It means that you're likely going to either have to keep a cloth with you all the time, like I'm wiping this car down every time I drive it, or you're going to have to replace bits in time. Another little complaint I have is that the rear window switches take a little getting used to. You've got one set of switches for both the front windows and the back windows, and in order to change between front and rear, you have to actually push a button, which means you have to again take your eyes off the road to figure it out. And my last complaint is a fun one. If you are perhaps muttering about other road users or roadworks or even just reciting your shopping list, quite often the car will mishear you and it thinks you're asking it a question. So on every journey, sometimes 2 or 3 times, I'm having to tell the car cancel, no, I'm not talking to you. It's kind of annoying, but that's the last of the complaints. The positives are quite good, however, starting with the comfort. It's a very comfortable car to drive. If this car is aimed at the typical combustion car driver, encouraging them to move over to better transport, then they'll have no problem adjusting to get into this car and just driving it. There's no learning required. It's effortless. Next thing I love is the range. 519 k's per charge in perfect situations is very good. Well done, especially for a car of this size. Next thing I love about this car is that it can tow up to 1 ton of brake load. That makes it really handy. Plus, another good thing is that it doesn't bing and bong all the time. Like some cars you get in there, it just won't shut up. It keeps telling you to correct this or move over from that lane or whatever. For better or worse, this one just assumes you know what you're doing and lets you get on with driving. The good stuff continues though, because it also has hand gestures, which work some of the time. Just means you don't have to take your eyes off the road so much in order to move from menu to menu. But I've saved the best for last. The best feature of this car is kind of groundbreaking. Volkswagen just announced that this car, the ID.4, can now handle vehicle to home and vehicle to grid, which means, say you've got 10,000 electric cars, 10,000 homes, all running their heat pumps and microwaves and ovens and hot water cylinders, and let's say that grid is straining at that moment in that little region. Well, power companies can take little bits of electricity out of those 10,000 EVs and just buffer up that grid until things reduce back down to normal. It's absolutely brilliant, and I can't tell you too much about the exciting technology that Ecotricity is going to roll out very soon. Suffice to say that it's big, and you're going to want to hit the subscribe button to see that video when it comes out. I'm going to demo it. In the meantime, I continued south, making good use of B mode going downhill, which converts braking into electricity, and that meant when I finally arrived to New Plymouth, I had more electricity in the tank than I expected. And we've made it to New Plymouth at last, and I don't know how, but this car has got better economy than the official stats. Despite my enthusiastic driving all those hills, and you saw how I was driving, I wasn't going flat out, but I was driving like a normal Kiwi. I've somehow got 16.4 kilowatt hours per 100k. That is phenomenal. I've still got 20% battery remaining. I thought I'd have something around 8%. I don't know how this car has been so efficient considering the terrain. Okay, but enough chit chat. It's time to charge this car up, and wait till you see the chargers. New Plymouth has long been struggling for good charging options. Not anymore. Yes, this is the 50 kilowatt charger here in New Plymouth that, well, EV owners have been using this one for years. There's been queues of cars off in here, but not anymore, because by the time this video goes live, so will these. Yes, at long last, New Plymouth has two 150 kilowatt rapid chargers. This one has two CCS plugs, and this one here has a CCS and a CHAdeMO plug. But don't worry, because the original 50 kilowatt unit is going to stay there for a while too. So New Plymouth, congratulations. You guys now have loads of charging options. Well done to ChargeNet. You guys have done it again. ChargeNet, if you don't know, they've got hundreds of rapid chargers all around New Zealand. And as you can see, they are doubling their network within 3 years. Way to go! And as this beast gulped down on eco-friendly electrons, let's do the Spudscore, starting with performance, and I'm giving it 6 spuds out of 10, because while you won't beat many cars at Mare Drag Strip, it is more than peppy enough for overtaking safely. Handling's next, and I'm giving it 6 out of 10, which is decent. Its big battery under the car gives it a low center of gravity, so it does all right on the corners for a car of its size, but it is more at home on the highway. As for comfort, this is where it shines, getting 7 out of 10 spuds. It's a very comfortable family car, which, thanks to its noticeable suspension travel and noise insulation, means your kids will fall asleep in it. Efficiency's next, and I'm giving it 7 out of 10 because despite my enthusiastic driving, I was capable of getting 470 k's per charge, and if you're driving sensibly at lower speeds, 500 k's per charge is very doable. As for gadgetry, I'm giving it 6 spuds because it's got everything you need, but not much more, although it does get an extra point for being vehicle to home capable. That is pretty cool. Value is next, and I'm giving it 5 spuds because while being a sought after brand, it's not the cheapest large EV you can buy today. Charging's next, and it gets 6 spuds out of 10 because while I'd like the DC charging to be quicker, it can handle 11 7 kilowatts AC, which is pretty good. As for style, this is subjective, but I found it to be a pleasant looking vehicle, so I'm giving it 6 out of 10. But is it fit for purpose? Well, I'm giving it 6 spuds because I'm uncertain who the exact target customer is supposed to be, but as a family car that just works, it does that perfectly. But the most important metric is of course PSC, and unfortunately I can only award the ID.4 4 spuds out of 10 for its unamazing PSC of just 43, mainly because the glove box is about as useful as me in a crisis, which means the total Spudscore is 59. So the ID.4 Pro is a big, comfy, long-range family vehicle designed to be more sensible than exciting, which, and let's be honest, is exactly what the majority of motorists want.